The following podcast is an enticing media production.
Where the Nell have you been? Join us for conversation about life, business, and everything in between. Welcome to What the Nell, where we've got stories to tell. Here's your host, Nell Tice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the What the Nell podcast with yours truly, Nell Tice. I am so incredibly excited today because I have an amazing guest that you guys are going to want to listen to. What he's doing is super cool, and I can't wait to share more with you. Who I have today, I always forget to do this before I introduce everybody. I have Ranger. Let me see if I can get this correct. Kielak?
Close. Kielak.
Kielak.
Yeah, like a bad
Thank you.
locksmith.
Ranger Kielak with me, who is a professional coach who is taking a several month hiatus from the quote real world unquote to make a cross country foot trek through the United States. That is incredible. I cannot wait to hear more about that. Ranger, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, no, thank you for the introduction. I'm excited to be here and excited to hang out with you and your listeners for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the cross-country trek, you mentioned you're a coach. What kind of coaching do you do? Who are your ideal clients?
So I consider myself to be a holistic success coach. I don't typically when people hear the word holistic, they think of, crystals or kind of more that realm, which
Right.
is great, but that's just not necessarily what I do. What I more so focus on is helping entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders live a more holistic life. I feel that typically people that start a business or a nonprofit get so absorbed in that entity that they kind of lose sight of who they are. So
Mm.
my focus is helping that person behind the mission build stronger relationships, focus on their health,
Mhm.
while also maintaining that entity outside of them. So kind of that holistic approach to entrepreneurship and making an impact in the world.
Love that. That is something that's so needed. And I can tell you from personal experience that, yeah, that's really, really important because it's so incredibly easy to get lost in what you do, and it becomes who you are. And, we're all individuals. We all have, you know, sense of person that we need to focus on. And it's really great that you're doing that. So I gotta know what this. I mean, you do amazing work. You're taking a hiatus to make this cross country trek. What led you to this decision? Like, why are you doing this?
A lot of people are asking me that right now. Um, what led me to it? So what I like about your question, it wasn't necessarily what gave you the idea. It's
Mm,
like, what's that journey?
mhm.
Um, I guess kind of from the inception of it in 2018, 2019, a singer that I like, Mike Posner,
Oh yeah.
he, okay, yeah, I took a pill in Ibiza, cooler than me. Um, he did the walk. He
Oh
started a little bit
wow.
higher north and then ended in, I think, Los Angeles area.
Okay.
But he did the walk. And when I saw, oh, that's cool, that's interesting. And from that immediate, oh, that's interesting, that's cool, I wish I could do something like that, it quickly turned into, but I can't because he's rich, he's famous, he can do these things, I can't, all these stories that
Yeah.
I made up about it.
Right.
And then 2020, COVID hit, world got thrown all over the place. All of my plans went out the window after I graduated in 2019. Um, and around 2021, 2022, I saw that two men had done it, one named Mark Dudek and another
Okay.
Andrew Kivet. And they had just graduated college. And they didn't have anything crazy special. They weren't, multimillionaire, platinum artists, or didn't have that same they didn't have that same story that I could make up about it as to why they can, but I can't.
Right.
And I was like, damn it. So Mark has a podcast and Andrew wrote a book about it.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I started listening to podcasts, reading the book, and I'm like, these are just normal guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God, am I just a normal guy? um, so, I mean, I have the text message here when I texted my my now fiance about it. But I guess the actual commitment happened on July 21st, 2022.
Wow.
And ever since then, she's been helping me plan, getting finances in order, making sure I don't have debt or
Mhm.
on a crazy obligation. Moved in with my mom so that I didn't have to worry about rent.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
just at that point, really putting all the pieces together so that basically a year and a half later,
Yeah.
I can do it.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, that right there is showing your dedication, your commitment to it. I mean, you've rearranged your life to be able to do this. And I did see in another source that you're working with supporting some nonprofits while you're doing this, organizing some community cleanups. So obviously, this is really important to you, and you're going to make this happen. Like you can tell. So I'm really excited for you to complete this. So give us some details about the walk itself. Like, where are you starting? Where do you plan to end? Those types of details.
Yeah, so I'm starting in Myrtle Beach area.
Okay.
I'm still trying to figure out, like, pin down exactly where on the beach I'm starting.
Hmm.
But for all intents and purposes, on March 10th, so what, just a few days out, and I think a couple days before this episode airs,
Yeah.
I'll be, I don't know, starting with my feet in the Atlantic,
Wow.
and I'll be walking towards Pismo Beach in California.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
And is
So the
Pismo Beach
plan,
like right around the LA area, or I'm not familiar exactly?
it's a little bit north. It's kind of by San Luis Obispo, Santa
Oh,
Barbara.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So so March 10th, why specifically this day? I mean, I know it's going to take you a while. You want to get some good weather and things like that. But why specifically March 10th?
Yeah, so March 10th actually lines up perfectly because February 28th was my 2-year anniversary at work
Hmm.
and my last day. I wanted 2 years of experience
Hmm.
before I left,
Yeah.
um, just to make sure that when I get back, if I have to go back to my day job,
Hmm.
then I have, 2 years of experience. It was a county job,
Yeah.
so anywhere in California, they have that position.
Sure.
So I want to have the 2 years of experience and some licenses that are applicable to the job.
Right.
Um, and then March 10th, I picked this because, it gives me a week and a half to, I don't know, get out here, get the final things planned, pick up last minute supplies.
Sure.
Um, and from what I was reading, when I talked to everybody, they were saying start at the beginning, start as early into spring as you can, and
Okay.
then walk from east to west.
Okay.
And that's mostly to avoid, the cold weather.
Right.
It's easier to get through hot than it is through cold for the most part.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and starting east to west, from my understanding, there's also a lot more stores. There's more, I don't know, civilization.
Okay.
Because
Sure.
once you get past Amarillo, Texas, and back into California, that New Mexico, Arizona area,
Yeah.
that's when it starts getting a little bit dicey. There's not as much.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
the East is a little bit more forgiving,
Okay.
essentially.
Okay. That's really interesting. So, are you walking a particular trail or did you set out like your own path? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, there are other trails. There's like the American Discovery Trail that's further north.
Hmm.
I'm not doing an established trail because the ones that I looked at, like the American Discovery Trail, there's another one I can't remember the name of right now.
Hmm.
Those were something closer to 4,000 miles, and
Wow.
the route that I'm taking is 2,800.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. It's amazing to think about how cross country can be like give or take
yeah,
a couple thousand miles.
yeah, for sure. No, that's the interesting thing too. For yeah, because I think the other one starts further north. So I mean, just the way that this the country is, it
Yeah.
does get pushed further east. I don't know. There's
Yeah. Some
it. Yeah,
geographical
it's
stuff.
yeah. I'm no geography expert, so um,
Very
but
cool.
no, the path I'm taking isn't necessarily an established path.
Okay.
Um, because there isn't like a specific, oh, if you want to walk across the US, here's the WikiHow. There are WikiHows, but they kind of suck. Um, But no, it's a lot of, find a place to start, head west.
Yeah.
So a lot of looking at Google Maps, Google Earth, trying to make sure that you can get across bridges and
Oh,
streets and
yeah.
roads, things like that are
Sure.
the main consideration.
Sure.
Um, but no, I kind of just have it set by like city to major city landmarks,
Okay.
and then day by day heading further west and making a little bit of progress every day.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So, how, what do you plan? What do you think your typical day is going to look like? Like, how many miles do you think you want to walk? And where do you plan to sleep? Like, take us in through a planned day in the life of during this journey.
Yeah, and I'm sure my plan sitting in my comfy hotel room a few days before versus at the end or a few weeks in even is going to be
Better soak
very
that up.
different. So, yeah. But I can imagine, I think most days are going to start around 6 a.m.
Hmm.
Just to make sure that I make use of all of the sunlight that I have.
Hmm.
I'm working with a yoga studio owner that I know in the Sacramento area,
Super
and
cool.
she made me, a whole yoga routine, stretching first thing in the morning, midday, at night.
Love it.
I'm working with a nutritionist, and she made me a whole meal plan.
Wow.
Um, so, stretch, eat breakfast, make some
Mhm.
coffee. I also have a coffee sponsor, so pretty cool.
That's
Um,
incredible.
it's so fun. Um, and they're all such great people, and I'm like, oh, thank God I get help from cool people.
Very much
Um,
so, yeah.
stretch, have breakfast, drink some coffee, pack up all my gear, or I don't know, wherever it is that I slept that night. Um, I have a few different plans. I have some estimates on what it would look like to walk 15 to 20 miles a day.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I mean, walk 15. I think the guys were saying that on average they walked about 20 to 30 miles a day.
Okay.
And that's just because, like when at the very beginning you ramp up from about 15, 20-ish to 30.
Right.
But it also really very much depends on where are you planning on sleeping that night? How much
Sure.
access do you have to things in that area?
Hmm.
Because if it's a 30-mile stretch of nothing, you might as well just push through as much as you can to get through that stretch. Otherwise, you're in that for 2 days versus just one.
Mm, good point. Really good point. Okay.
Um,
So, do you, I think my question then would be, so, I mean, if you're getting up to 30 miles a day, so how do you train for something like this? Or do you train? I mean, what does that even look like?
you do and you don't. A lot more. So in terms of training, I worked with a trainer for about 6 or 7 months, more so doing like a full body, focusing on lifting and lifting weights to like get
Hmm.
my strength up.
Hmm.
And the reason for that is I'm going to be carrying like a 20, 25 pound backpack
Sure.
and
Yeah.
pushing a cart that has probably up to about 60, 70 pounds of stuff in it.
Wow.
Um, and that's a lot, but water weighs a lot.
Sure.
So I'm assuming that my water is going to be, carrying a few gallons at a time, going to be pretty weighty. Um,
Right.
but no, I worked with a guy, just he is a online personal trainer. Just it's like, hey
Mhm.
man, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
He said, that's crazy. Here's your routine. So he was super cool, and that was really helpful. I mean, when I graduated, I started losing a bunch of weight and going to the gym more.
Okay.
But my main issue was just being consistent with it.
Sure.
And, you go to the gym, you feel overwhelmed. It's kind of nice to just have this is what I'm doing today. Look at the phone, lift the heavy circles, go home.
Hmm.
So that's a lot of what I did. I did some cardio. I was a lot more into cardio before I started working with him.
Right.
So I did a few half marathons, 10Ks, 5Ks. So a lot of training there. Um, I didn't do a whole lot of walking to train.
Okay.
The hard thing for that is, having a full-time job and a
Yeah.
business
Yeah.
and it was difficult to find 10 hours in a day to simulate that. So that's
Sure.
probably the thing I'm most worried about. Um, but even talking to the other guys, Andrew and Mark, they didn't do a whole lot of training leading up to it. There is another gentleman, his page is Kenny Walks, and
Okay.
he's a retired veteran, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I walked like maybe 1,000 and a half miles before I even started."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh my God, that's crazy." But yeah, so it's just like it's for me, it was a lot more of weight training, the mental side of it, getting
Hmm.
everything together, just making sure that all my affairs were in order,
Hmm.
on the money side, my animals had a place to go,
Sure. Yeah.
um, rather than focusing on walking.
Yeah.
Because the guys were saying it's gonna suck the first month no matter what.
Hmm.
You could train for weeks and weeks and weeks,
Hmm.
but unless you're actually simulating 15 to 30 miles in a day with your gear, you kind of just got to get used to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I feel like it's going to end up being like a lot of things, like running a half marathon or anything else, as a lot of it is going to be mindset. So how do you plan to keep your mindset strong and in the right place and as much as you can on the journey?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, I'm still working with my own coach.
Hmm.
I have a lot of coach friends, so I kind of
Hmm.
have that to lean on whenever
That's
I need.
great.
Hey, I need a coach style friend conversation. I need an actual coaching call. And most coaches are pretty up to doing that just to practice,
Yeah,
especially with another coach.
sure.
Um, so there's that, talking to my fiance. Like I'm still gonna have access to a lot of things.
Hmm.
There might be some stretches where I don't have as much service, or I don't know, I can't talk on the phone because I'm focusing on the road.
Hmm.
Um, but mindset wise, talking to people, still working on that connection because that's a big thing of the walk is connecting with people that I find
Yeah,
on the walk.
yeah,
Um, so making the connection that way. I don't know, music, podcasts, the
sure.
normal, feel like I don't know, with someone kind of.
Yeah.
Um, and then everybody that's, well, Andrew and Mark for sure, everybody
Mhm.
that's done it kind of has like a little mantra.
Okay.
Um, Andrews and Mike Posner's were for sure keep going.
Yeah.
So like that was kind of the thing that they kept bringing through their head.
Hmm.
And I think a lot more of mine is just going to kind of be one more, one more
Mm.
day, one more week, like
Hmm.
one more mile, just kind of like don't worry about, because the 2,800 ahead of you, just focus on the one that you're in right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be one of the biggest, like, come on, bud, you're good. Let's go.
Yeah. That's incredible. It's the power of one more. Have you ever read that book by Ed Milet?
Which one?
It's called The Power of One More by Ed Milet.
I need to now.
Yes. Yes, you do. That is an amazing book, and it would be absolutely perfect for this journey. It's yeah. Um,
Perfect. I'll download it today. I got my Kindle set up and everything. So,
oh yeah, it's so good. Yeah, I can't wait for you to read it. But yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I even just the strength that you show in knowing what support system you have and how to utilize it. I think you've really got this planned out, which is amazing. And you have to, of course, but inevitably you will come across some things along the way and obstacles, of course, because that's just life in general. But how, in your head right now, how long do you plan that this will take for you?
yeah, I'm thinking it'll take about 5 to 7 months.
Okay.
I have it planned out right now to end around October 5th.
Okay.
But even at 15 miles, if I were to average 15 miles a day,
Hmm.
that would put me around September 22nd.
Okay.
And if I'm able to average 20, that knocks it back to August 1st.
Okay.
So it's pretty significant just how much, 5 miles a day makes a difference.
Sure. Absolutely.
Um, I know Andrew did it in about 3 months. Mark did it in about five and a half.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so I gave myself that extra month and a half, just, because again, it's meeting people.
Sure.
I'm doing my own podcast, trying to find folks, and
Oh my
my
gosh.
fiance
That's
is going to come
awesome.
and meet up with me every once in a while, like Memphis,
Yeah.
Oklahoma City, things like that. So
Oh, that's super cool. So what I didn't realize, I was going to say you need to document this somehow, whether it's a YouTube channel or something. And I love that you're doing a podcast. So what is the
yeah.
podcast called and when do you release episodes? Give us all the details on that.
Yeah, so it's the Within Range Coaching Podcast.
Okay.
Just my business name,
Yeah.
podcast. Um, right now, it's kind of sporadic because a lot of the episodes are people that are helping me with the walk. My sponsors, my coach,
Hmm.
my personal trainer, and the nonprofits that I'm working with.
Hmm.
So right now, I'm just like, come on, guys, let's schedule, let's get it out. Schedule,
Yeah.
get it out. Um, so those are going to be updated right now. It's like it feels like bi-week or twice a week, basically.
Whoa.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I'm just cranking them out right now.
Awesome.
Um, and I don't know. I think I'm probably going to end up doing a YouTube channel because I do want to do a series with some of my best friends from high school
Yeah.
and kind of like all right, you guys ask questions, you guys collect questions, look at my comments, like find what people are typically asking,
Yeah.
and then you ask me questions.
Okay.
And I don't know if that format would be good for the base podcast, but I definitely do want to still do a YouTube channel.
Sure.
It'll probably be within range coaching YouTube channel something.
Love it.
Um, but since that one will be longer, I'm assuming less structured, more, I don't know, walk stories.
Right.
Uh, so that'll probably be on YouTube. I'll probably put on the pod. I don't know. Uh, TikTok is probably going to be the day to day, like, oh, look at
Okay.
this cat I saw. Like
Yeah.
very random
Hmm.
thoughts throughout the day.
Yep.
More, I don't know, journal, Twitter-ish, I
Yeah.
guess. And then Instagram, photos, videos, reels,
Yep.
and then Facebook is going to be more of like long form posts,
Okay. Okay.
typing things out like, oh, this is what happened, this is what I saw, this is where I
Hmm.
started, this is where I ended.
Hmm.
Probably a couple days out for each one, so I'm not posting live updates of where I'm sleeping. But
Good thought on that.
yeah,
You got to stay
so
secure.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. All the social medias will have their own little thing. LinkedIn, I don't know.
Yeah.
Today I went through another journey. I don't know. Like just the way that you're supposed to write on each one.
Yeah, each of the platforms has their own personality for sure. And so it doesn't surprise me when you say like long form will be on Facebook and TikTok will be like
Yeah.
the day to day. Oh, look at this fun animal that I found.
Yeah.
Makes total sense, especially if you're in the social media realm. But so what do you have planned as far as any community activities or anything right now that you know that you're doing in like a particular city or anything like that?
Yeah. So I'm still working on that. I think I don't know, my experience so far is I've been emailing some places, some local clubs, nonprofits, and
Hmm.
not a lot of people are getting back to me.
Mm.
I'm not sure what I've also noticed, like with sponsors or even other, I don't know, certain support. I've gotten a ton of support,
Hmm.
but when I'm kind of cold reaching out to folks, I'm not sure if they're taking it seriously because I'm saying I'm
Hmm.
starting soon, rather than being kind of in the thick of it without having that social proof.
Right.
I don't really have a whole lot planned. As of right now, on Saturday before the walk, my fiance and I are probably going to walk around the trash bag and just
Hmm.
kind of do like our own little community cleanup.
Okay.
Um, and then I don't know, once I have that social proof, then kind of use that because then I think it's going through Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because then within about a week or so, I'll be hitting Columbia, South Carolina, and I'd love to do something there.
Hmm.
Um, do something in Atlanta, Birmingham,
Yeah.
Memphis. So really just kind of focusing on, I don't know, reaching out to different running clubs or
Right.
nonprofits in those areas to
Yeah. No, I
make
think that,
something happen.
yeah, you'll probably be able to pick up some additional eyes and sponsorships and things like that while you're actually on the journey, especially once you get
Yeah,
into some of the bigger cities like Atlanta and things like that, which is
yeah,
incredible.
exactly.
So what would you say that you're most scared of on the journey?
New Mexico and Arizona,
The full states.
the whole state, the entire thing. Um, I'd say probably those areas just
Mhm.
because the route that I picked is a lot of desert and hot.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's probably the spaces I'm most concerned on.
Mhm.
I'd say earlier on, like the first, I don't know, what do they call it in plays and stuff, the first act.
Hmm.
the first act, I guess, of the journey from what I kind of consider Myrtle Beach to Memphis.
Hmm.
Um, that's going to be, figuring it out. Things are going to break, things are going to happen. I'm
Sure.
not manifesting it, but it's going to happen. It's like
Right.
1,000 miles in. So that's going to be a lot of, getting past the scariness of sleeping outside, finding random places to sleep, using resources.
Hmm.
Um, and then New Mexico and Arizona is going to be a lot more, okay, how do I get to the next gas station or the
Mm.
next place to whatever?
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of Bureau of Land Management land out there. So a lot more, it's going to be a
Yeah.
little bit easier to find places to put my tent,
Yeah.
but water and food are going to be the main concern. So
Yes. Yeah. No,
that's what I'm
I
focused
hear
on.
you on that. And I also feel like on the journey, I mean, New Mexico, Arizona is right before the last state. And I think from
Yeah,
a mindset perspective that, I could see at least myself being in this frame of mind where it's like, man, I'm so close. This is the worst part of the journey. I'm so close.
yeah,
And that's when a lot of that mindset work is going to have to come into play because you're at that point, where you're fatigued beyond what you even know now, and it's going to be detrimental to you. So maybe
yeah,
save that book for that part of the journey.
yeah. Well, isn't that a thing for a lot of entrepreneurs is kind of
Mhm.
like it's like that journey we get that you go through, like I have this idea, it's great, it's amazing. And then you kind of like, oh man, this is hard.
Yeah.
Okay, this is really hard. And then valley of like nothing's working. Why am I doing this? Kind of like that valley of despair. And
Hmm.
then you're like, oh, I did it. Cool. And I
Yeah.
think that's really just looking at the map, that's what I see a lot of is like oh, this is hard. Oh, I think I got the hang of it. Oh, this is really hard. Boom, California.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's such a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you described it perfectly and I'm not surprised. But yeah, I mean the entrepreneurial journey and oh, got this cool idea. Oh wait, this was really hard. Oh my gosh, I actually did it. Like you're already primed for this journey because essentially it's the same concept in what you're doing. It's just on a little bit of a more physical level from maybe what you know. I don't know. Obviously entrepreneurs out there that have very physical jobs and businesses and things. And I mean, from a perspective of being an entrepreneur, this seems very, very similar. So you're already kind of familiar with it.
Yeah, exactly. And just like what we're kind of saying here, there's going to be so many parallels for life, business, love, all these different things
Yeah.
being able to draw from this journey. So I'm excited to kind of use that as I don't know, I'm a big metaphor guy.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be great to see that throughout and how things change and perspectives. So
Yeah. Oh, this is so awesome. I would love, love, love after you've completed the journey, to do a follow-up episode to see how you're feeling about
definitely.
it and reflection and all of the things. I'm so incredibly excited for you. So before we end episodes here at the What the Nell podcast, we always like to ask the guest if they have a What the Nell story to tell us. Anything crazy, quirky, funny, fun, anything that leaves people asking, what the Nell just happened here? So, do you have a story for us to share?
Oh God, that wasn't enough. Um, no, I
You're
mean,
always
maybe
enough.
maybe this isn't necessarily a story, but it's something that I feel like a lot of people also don't know about.
Mm.
So, what, from 2020 to the end of last year, so about three, I guess 4 completed years,
Hmm.
I worked with a reptile rescue in
Oh,
Sacramento.
okay.
So it's the Northern California Herpetological Society. I started just as, a volunteer, board member, newsletter editor, president,
Sure.
and not a lot of people know that there's reptile rescues. It's like
Oh my
snakes,
gosh.
lizards, geckos, frogs,
Oh, wow. Sorry for the
even
look on my
spiders.
face.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've rescued tarantulas, lizards, snakes,
Oh,
and when I
wow.
say rescue, we're not the ones that are kind of in the marshland finding animals or
I was
doing
going to
things like
say,
that.
do search for
Um,
them?
Not necessarily. They very much find their way to us.
Wow.
So reptiles, bearded dragons, leopard geckos, ball pythons, they're very, very common pets in the reptile hobby,
Okay.
and they're easy to take care of
Hmm.
in the way that a cat and a dog, needs to be fed every day, needs
Mm,
water every day.
sure.
They don't necessarily need to be fed every day for the most part. Look at care guides if you're listening to me, disclaimer. So, yeah, they don't make a lot of noise. They don't beg you for food.
Okay.
So what a lot of people do is they're like, "Oh, I'm going to get this ball python. I'm going to
Okay.
keep it in the cage. I'm going to feed it." Great. They don't do a whole lot. They don't make noise. They don't really interact a lot.
Right.
You don't have to do a lot with them. So what people
Okay.
do is they get one, then they get two,
Mm.
and then they get three, and then four, and then 20.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, no, I know people that are breeders and are amazing owners that have 20 something animals. I
Yeah.
mean, I had 20 at one point. Um, but what happens is people get in over their heads. They can't
Yeah.
take care of all these 20 animals anymore, and then they need somewhere to go with them.
Mm.
And typically, they don't want to just sell their pets on Craigslist or Facebook.
Hmm.
They take it to a rescue, which is where we kind of come in, bring them in, rehab them if needed. Um, we got plenty of cases where it was an animal hoarding situation,
Oh my
and
gosh.
animal control calls us. Like we got cats, dogs, rabbits, but we also have snakes, lizards, spiders, a little bit of
Hmm.
everything.
Right.
So we would take them in, and there was a few cases where we get them in, they're just emaciated, super thin, super small.
Oh.
Um, we do our best to rehab them up to a point that they can be adopted out again
Hmm.
and find them new homes. So,
Wow.
um, and it can also be as simple as, my 15-year-old got a snake or a lizard. He's 18 now and going to college and can't take it with him.
Yeah.
Can you take
Yeah.
it? So
Sure.
there's all these different there's the two extremes, even
Mhm.
down to I just don't want it anymore.
Right.
So I think that's just an interesting thing that a lot of people don't think of. They go to Petco or PetSmart and they see those animals there,
Hmm.
but like there's a whole chain of events that could happen.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that most people don't think that there's a rescue that brings in spiders. So
Yeah. It's interesting. It doesn't surprise me, I guess, all that much, but I have a client that I work with is an entomologist, and
oh wow.
we do his YouTube videos and everything like that. And just, I'm going through these videos and I'm like, I had no idea that there were people that did all of this stuff. And I mean, he doesn't do a lot with reptiles, but he does a lot with spiders. And I'm just like, if somebody would have asked me the question, what would I be most scared of on this walk across America? I would have told you snakes or scorpions or spiders, not states and desert. But, that's a little more appropriate, I think. But I
Well, I mean,
mean,
that's where those are going to be too. So I'm also worried about those, but it's the heat exhaustion first, the
yeah,
cool critter second.
yeah. And I feel like you possess an energy that will radiate to the animals to say, you know what, I am safe. Don't come for me.
Let me look at you, and then you can carry on your way.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. You put some of that in a YouTube video, you will get some views. So just
For sure.
food for thought. This has been an amazing conversation. I just tell us about, is there a way that people can support you? Is there like a GoFundMe, or how can people find you and connect as well?
Yeah, so the main way is going to be my website.
Mhm.
So it's withinrangecoaching.com. And the one for the walk is withinrangecoaching.com/walk dash across dash America. I assume you're going to put it in the show notes.
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank God. People like fiercely typing at their keyboard. So all the information is going to be on that page, the Walk Across America for my Within Range page. Everything's on there, a little bit of the story, some photos, the mission, the nonprofits that I'm raising money for, where you can make a donation there.
Okay.
Um, I'm working with an organization called Wander Project to collect the funds, and
Okay.
we're doing all of it through Facebook.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
So it's just a Facebook fundraiser that goes to those three. The goal is to hit 100,000, and it's going to split between those three.
Okay.
Um, the Within Range Coaching podcast. It's on Apple, Spotify, and I don't know. I paid the extra money to have it send it to everything else. So I think it's on everything else, but I haven't looked because I'm nervous. Um, and then I'm using a thing right now called what is it? Buy Me a Coffee. It's
Oh
kind of
yeah, I've
like
heard of that.
yeah, it's like a Patreon kind of a deal.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I'm using if you want to make direct donations to me. I just thought it was because I drink a lot of coffee, so I was like, okay, cool. What's this? Um, but yeah, I would prefer most people to donate straight to the fundraiser first,
Mhm.
and then they want to, send a little bit my way. I'll be using the coffee fund for necessities, food, water, repairs,
Sure.
hotels if needed.
Mhm.
So,
Awesome.
um, yeah, so go to that page first.
Okay.
All of my social media is linked there. Within Range Coaching on Facebook, Instagram. Go to that page and you'll find everything.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, I'm so excited for you. I will definitely be watching your journey for sure and supporting you however we can and getting this out to the world, your message, and getting as much
Awesome.
support as you can from listeners. And yeah, I can't wait. You're going to do amazing. And I can't wait for all of the updates. So I will say best of luck to you and
Thank
best
you.
wishes, of course. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy preparation schedule to record this with me. This is awesome. And so if you're listening to this on the What the Nell podcast, definitely, find us, subscribe, and leave us a review. That's how we grow. If you're listening to this on the road with Kenny and Nell on Thursdays at Sandcastle Radio, just check out all those links. We'll pop those in our Facebook group so that you can find those and follow along on Ranger's journey. So awesome. Thank you again, Ranger, for being here. And thank you to all of you for listening. And as always, I will catch you on the next one.
To learn more about how to tell your story, connect with Nell at enticingmedia.com. That's ENTICEING media.com. Thanks for listening to the What the Nell podcast.